listening to the Motherhood Experience, a podcast where you are a part of the conversation with moms, for moms, and by moms. Let's jump into this episode with me, your host, Val Kleppen. Well, hello, friends. So glad to be back with you for another episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. It's been a couple of interesting weeks as I have taken some time off, and you know what? I loved it. I loved it. So a replay might be a thing that I just do every now and again, but so excited this week to have my guest, Lori Atwood, and our conversation to share with you today. Lori's motherhood journey is a unique one, as all of our journeys are. She became a mother later in life and has one daughter who helped shape her career, and her career actually was necessitated out of her motherhood journey. I had so much fun talking with Lori about her company, Fearless Finance. She has offered TME listeners a discount as well. So if you need help in financial planning, and you'll actually hear more about what that means in this episode, for a discount of $50 off, you can just mention on the form of her website that you heard her on TME, and they'll get you that $50 off for your consultation. As always, wherever you're listening, feel free to leave us a 5-star review. You can share the podcast episode either from the podcast streaming platform on YouTube or on any social media. You can also share it via text, email, or messenger pigeon. You know how much I love those messenger pigeons, right, Jessica Mefford? That's right. Anyway, excited to introduce Lori Atwood to all of you today. And without further ado, it's good to be back, and let's get into the conversation. Well, it's another fantastic week on the Motherhood Experience podcast, and I am joined by Lori Atwood. Lori, welcome to the Motherhood Experience.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we start every episode with ages of kids and stage of motherhood you're in, so why don't you share that with our listeners?
So I have one daughter, and she's 17. She's a senior. She just last week started her senior year of high school. So gosh, what stage of motherhood does that put me in? We're in like the pre-college, applying to college vortex.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it also maybe a little bit of a simultaneous celebratory and grieving stage?
I will let you know when the grieving starts. It's so funny because last year she was a junior, which is a very hard year and very stressful, and all those things that people say about it being hard and stressful, I found to be totally true. I felt a ton of stress. Just, watching her go through it. It was so much work. She had so much homework. It was all about, APs and grades and, all of these things. And we took her on a few college visits and that sort of thing. And it was super stressful. And I could not wait for that year to be over. And then we had the summer, and that was great. And then I found myself tensing up again last week when she was getting ready to start. So, my great hope is that she lands in some college that makes sense for her. I'm not saying I'm not going to miss her, because I will. But yeah, I think it's the natural progression of stuff.
Yeah. So let me ask you this about your own family, your roots, where you came from. Are you an only child?
No, I have an older brother.
Okay. So when you were growing up, being the younger sister, were you like a natural kind of maternal role in your family?
No.
Did you foresee motherhood in your future?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if you want to hear this. I am not maternal at all. I couldn't even babysit. I hated to babysit. I hated anything having to do with children. And we only have one child because I was at the great age of 41. When she was born. I was 40 when we conceived her.
Okay.
And I was just a few weeks away from being 41 when she was born. Yeah.
So was that, and now I'll just be upfront with you for the first.
No, please. I'm an open book about this stuff.
Okay.
I don't care.
So for the first 7 years of our marriage, we did not have children, weren't sure if we ever would. And then we did. And I was like, oh my word, how wonderful for us. Was it that for you? Like you weren't sure you wanted children and so you didn't have any and then one day it changed, or what was that progression?
No, I met and fell in love with a man at 39.
Okay.
He's 3 years old, 3.5 years older than I am.
Okay.
And it was his first marriage, my first marriage. And we had started dating in, I don't know, it was like March. And I had my fall annual physical. And my gynecologist was like, and she was the one who was like, you have to have the talk and you got to get on this if you think you want to have a child. And I thought, I always wanted to have one child because I thought I want to have the experience of having a child, but I'm not hugely maternal.
Hmm.
And so I love having one child.
Okay. So many questions,
Yeah.
Lori, are racing in through my mind right now. So when you, no, I want to start before that. Were you career driven? Was that what kind of kept you just go, go, go? No time for marriage, no time for family?
I would love to think it was all as romantic as that and planned as that, but it really was not. I mean, I dated a lot. I just never met anyone that was the right one. And what I didn't want to do is what I refer to, and you may want to cut this out, is the 38 special, where a woman becomes 38 and suddenly will marry whoever so that she can have babies. And I didn't, and I watched friends do this, and it just ends up a mess for everyone involved. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to marry someone that I really want to marry. And I got so lucky because I'm happily married. He's wonderful. It just didn't happen early enough in life to be able to have. We tried to have a second. I had a couple of miscarriages, and
Yeah.
the doctor was like, if you get lucky, you get lucky. But I don't. It's not. It's definitely not a given at that age.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, just to encourage you, if it does, that I've heard so many times women who have babies after 40 end up being healthier later on in life.
I have read that. I have read they age slower because they started doing the stuff that lots of women do in their 20s and 30s. Yeah. I hope
So,
that's true. I hope
yeah,
that's
you've
true.
got that going for you. You've
I
got that going
do.
for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a daughter. Once you had her then, and you were still working, having a career and all of
Oh
this
yeah.
when you got pregnant. So once you had her, did you notice a shift in your maternalism or maternal instincts?
This is a great question. I love my kid, but I still didn't like other people's kids. Like we would go to like our baby group in the neighborhood. Everyone has that kind of like, and you sign up
Yeah.
and you all go to the
Yeah.
playground together kind of a thing. And we would do that. And another one would be like, oh, can you watch little Samuel while I go to the ladies' room or something like that? Something perfectly reasonable. And I would just be so anxious. And whenever she had play dates over, heaven forbid, sleepovers, I was like, but I felt completely at home with her, completely at home with her. But it just, I'm nobody's nursery school teacher. No.
This is so interesting because I think if you took the motherhood experience guess, it might be a 50-50, maybe like a 60-40 split, where so many moms are just like that. They just like, I love my kids and I could handle my kids, but when it came to others or anyone else's, it's a no from me.
Yeah, that is not my thing. And, and we went everywhere together. Because you would ask, I was working and she was born right around the time. So I was in finance, right? And I did my last deal with Lehman Brothers, and she was born just couple months before Lehman Brothers fell in 2008, right? And my husband was like, well, you wanted to stay home a little with her. You're never going to get a bonus this year because the economy's a mess. Why don't you resign and figure it out? And I was like, okay. And so I left my job and I was home with her for 3 years.
Oh,
At home,
wow.
fully home. I used to do I would do consulting projects when they came up. People knew I was around. They're like, hey, can you look at this deal for me? Can you look at, and I would do those things. And I would hire a babysitter for a few hours here and there so that I could do a little bit of consulting work and she would be busy. So I definitely did that. And then I was like, well, what do I want to do next? I want something that's a little more flexible because I'm the primary parent. That was never going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be able to get her from school and have her, feel all that stability. And I always wanted to own my own business. And so I started to try to generate ideas of what I wanted to do. And I thought about having, and, if you can think back to when it was like right at the beginning stages of YouTube and of, right. And so I was like, I'm going to do little short videos, which now we call reels, little short videos of different parenting subjects, detangling hair and dealing with bullies and whatever it is. And so I interviewed experts and I did these videos, and I realized that the video content was good, but it was dull. Like it lacked charisma. And so I thought, okay, I've got to be able to do this for myself, on myself. I can't waste other people's time. So I called up everyone I knew, right? Preschools, yoga studios, everyone, and churches. And I was like, can I come and do a free personal finance seminar and video myself? And they were like, sure, why not? So I went and did it. And then people just started asking me if they could be my client. And that's how the business was born.
Okay, so the fact that you were a mother and a stay-at-home mom at this point because your career flopped with the economy and that it necessitated this move, this next step, this thing that you wanted to do next. I love how you said that because it wasn't like a season of am I ever going to work again? It was what am I going to do next?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I am curious though, why was parenting videos the first thing you landed on?
Because it was right in my face.
Okay.
Because it was like every time something would happen with her, I'd be like, how do I solve this? And you have to remember there wasn't as much in the form of resources as there is now. I mean, now you just type it into ChatGPT and you're done. It's not like pre-internet, but
Yeah.
it was nascent, social media and all of that.
Right.
Right at the beginning of it. And there wasn't really a great resource like a Wikipedia for parenting. And that's what I was envisioning, right?
I see.
In
Okay.
video.
So,
And I was envisioning that. And I was like, gosh, it would be really great to know what to do if she won't let me cut her toenail, or whatever it is.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's where it kind of came from. And, small business ideas often come from the fact that you can't get something done. And so you're like, why isn't there somebody I can call to get this thing done?
Right.
And that was where it came from.
That's so I love that. And it's so entrepreneurial. Like you see a problem, you see a need, and you just jump in to provide a resource for it. I love that. But I also love that you were like, not just saying, hey world, here's my expert parenting advice for you as a first time
I didn't feel like an expert.
and that you went, like you were interviewing people
Yeah.
and trying to find the answers and then relaying them to anyone. So what led you down that path though, of just like, I want to find answers, but I need to find the answers from other people who know? How did you go about that?
Because it was crystal clear to me that I didn't know, right? It was crystal clear to me. I had these same issues. My daughter, she has my husband's hair, not me. Like it's super fine. Like you can't even see it when it like falls in the bathtub. And that gets into this knotted mess that I had no experience with because my hair never did that. And I didn't know, my husband's bald. So he had no idea what to do. And I had no idea what to do. And it was like, I was doing this research, like, how do I do this so that this kid's not screaming and wailing and get her hair detangled and, not tear it out and anything that would be bad for her. So there were, as you know, from being a parent, right, daily, hourly, if not hourly, there are questions that come up. And I thought, well, gosh, I know, because thousands of years ago, everybody was children were all brought up in a communal setting, right?
Yeah.
And somebody somewhere had the answer to whatever it was. And there wasn't this now. It can be motherhood can be super isolating if
Hmm.
you're home with your child, especially.
Yeah.
It can be really isolating. And so what if you were able to find the answers? And so that was kind of the train of thought.
So in that, did you find, because you touched on something here that I hear quite a lot. Did you find that it was hard for you as a mom in your 40s with this baby
Hmm.
to find other mom friends and other, like, was that part of the maybe disconnect from other kids because the
Yeah.
moms were younger than you?
Well, I would say all of her close friends, their parents are 10 years younger than we are
Yeah.
for the most part. Even now, even her high school friends, their parents are much younger. And then I was stay at home, right? And where I live in DC, most of the women are out there working. It's a super, ambitious, career oriented city. And so it wasn't that easy to find other moms who were home and that were my age. No, not very
Yeah.
many at all.
Yeah.
And so I had to, I joined a lot of those kind of listservs and, groups and stuff just because I wanted her to also be socialized. And yeah, and you need other people. I mean, it's just, it can be very isolating.
Yeah. So how, or was making these videos then and talking to these experts, was that kind of how you felt a sense of community as well?
I felt a sense of, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way. I think a lot of the experts were people I already knew from various parenting, other parts of my world, if you will.
Okay.
Um, and so, yeah, at least if you can say to somebody, I cannot detangle this child's hair. And then somebody else is like, oh, my kid has that same kind of hair. It is far less isolating. Yeah, I think that's
Right.
absolutely right. And so just being able to interact with the experts to get the snippets and the videos was a good community, a good sense of community. Yeah, I would say
Right.
that's right.
So then once that felt kind of, and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth here, but once that felt kind of stagnant or like this isn't going to go where I need it to go or where I want it to go, and you made the calls around to do these finance seminars.
Yeah.
Finance had been your career. Is that something that you loved and pursued as a career, or did you fall into it
Originally, you mean?
originally?
Yeah. So a couple things there. One is I've only ever been in finance, various aspects of finance. I'm very at home in that world. And making the videos, I always wanted to own my own business, and making the videos was a totally different thing. And the reason that I didn't pursue it, and people may judge me for this, is that it felt a little inauthentic for the mother of one who, oh, by the way, was an extremely easy baby, who she's neurotypical. She's, all those things, for me to be giving advice.
Hmm.
And that felt a little weird to me, even though I wasn't giving the advice. I wasn't like, this is how you detangle hair. I was aggregating expertise from other people. It just didn't feel like the right fit
Sure.
for me.
Sure.
And so I went, back to the mothership, which is finance for me. That's, I guess, where I'm most comfortable.
Yeah. And when you say finance, what does that mean? Because I know people hear it and everyone thinks something different.
Different. So I started out in investment banking
Okay.
after grad school and on the trading floor. And people, they picture Wall Street and they understand what all of that stuff means. And that is what it was. And then I was the CFO of a small internet startup in the first internet wave. And then off to a role in private equity. So I've been in various aspects, but pretty much always what's called corporate finance, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and now what I do is personal finance and small business finance. So it's a slightly different facet of the same. thing. Because you're right, there are a million things you can do in finance,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you made these calls then to do these seminars and record yourself, did you start doing it for content and then find yourself like being fueled by it, or did you start doing it both to fuel yourself and for content?
I was doing it for content first and foremost. I mean, that would be the only true answer there. And I would get, because the way that I like to give seminars in general is by talking about what I need to talk about as quickly as I can and opening everything up for questions, because that's really where the most
Mm.
interesting stuff lies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that. And I would get all of these questions, and I'm thinking, my gosh, and a lot of them were preschools and churches and, mommy and me yoga. So there's a lot of parenthood in the people who were coming to see the personal finance seminars. And there was a lot of questions regarding personal finance and parenthood and things that are related to an expanding family and buying a house and all those things, right? And I'm like, my goodness, people are asking the same questions. Why don't people have access to this knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
And people just came up to me and they're like, can you take me on as a client? I need help. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll take a couple of these clients on, but I'm doing this still.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of pulled me naturally over. It just expanded and expanded. And yeah, quickly.
So in the meantime, then you're you're still at home with your daughter and
Yeah.
then doing these seminars like in the evenings?
Yeah. So I had just a college kid babysitter for a few hours every week, I think 3 or 4 hours. And I would do them then. I would do them on weekends when my husband was home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was blessed with a very good sleeper. I know that some people are going to be like, oh, easy for her to say. I was blessed with a very good sleeper. And so I could do a lot of work after she went to sleep. And I fit it in. I took her when I needed to, because like I
Mm.
said, she was like one of those kids that you threw on your back in your baby carrier and she was fine. And not
Mm.
everyone has that kid. I get that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was very lucky.
Yeah. It sounds like that the stage of motherhood you were in and when the stage of your career you were in, when these two sections of your life met in like this crosswind kind of situation, really,
Mm,
that you had to make a decision and you started with really the premise of answering questions, right? And that
yeah.
started in parenthood for you. And so your journey as a mother then kind of had you realize this need for answering questions. It's just interesting to me and kind of blowing my mind that you went back to what you knew. I love how you called it the mothership.
It is.
What you knew in finance. And then you found there are also questions from parents and families in this realm where I'm super comfortable, where I'm way more comfortable talking about this than talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
parenting.
It's more authentic for me. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And
Hmm.
so that shift seemed very organic in your life, right? And so I guess what I'm getting at, what I'm wondering is when you made that change from parenting content to finance content, did you find that your home life also just like you were breathing easier and things just kind of came more naturally at
Yeah.
home because things came naturally in this new avenue of work?
Everything felt like a little less of a struggle, if you will. Right. It was, again, that goes with that authenticity I was just mentioning. Like it was just more authentic for me. It was easy, if you will. Like taking clients and talking to them about their personal finance was no problem at all. And, you know, trying to figure out what issues people have in parenting and what videos to make and what questions to answer. When I had this kid who was this really great sleeper and all these other, I mean, people struggle with sleep all the
Mm-hmm.
time, right? So that's what I mean by it felt more authentic. I felt like I could give more and I could give it myself without having to connect other experts with people who had a question. And
Yeah.
I think it also, it was just more, it was more natural and less of a struggle. And I deeply believe, and this may have had something to do with sort of my level of maturity when I had a child, right? Um, my level of life experience when I had a
There you
child
go.
is when you see a chance, when you see an opening, take it
Hmm.
and exploit it and run with it and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, then pivot again and do something else. And so I examined the short videos on parenting. I explored them, if you will. And I like to think of myself as pretty opportunistic, and I pivoted.
Did you teach your daughter as she was going through life? Because I'm going to assume school did not teach her this. Did you teach her about personal finance?
Oh my gosh. This poor girl. Are you kidding? I remember I was giving a seminar to women who were more or less college age. And it was a room, I don't know, it had to be 100 people in this room, but I had to bring her because I had no childcare.
Yeah.
And I don't know what she was, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, that kind of thing. And so she's standing there and I'm giving this seminar, and one of the girls asked a question about something, and I said her name's Stella. And I said, Stella, what does mommy love? And she said, a good deal. And I was like, yes. And so she's had it since, she just has had it all her life. And she's had allowance since she was young. And she works and she understands how to deal with money. And she's like, oh, like many other 17-year-old girls, she really loves places like Sephora and that kind of thing. And if I go in there with her and she's like, well, I wouldn't spend my money on this, but if you want to buy it for me, I'm like, no, if you don't think it's worth it, I'm not buying it for you. But she gets, because what I'm looking for, what I want my clients to instill in their kids, and what I think people need to model more is this is worth it and this is not. So I want her to have buyer's remorse with some $3 or $4 blind bag and not with some Porsche in her 20s.
Yeah.
So we've been working through that since she was real little.
So you encounter all of these adults and these parents that have these questions. And I imagine some of the questions have you maybe in a little bit of disbelief that this would be a question that a mature, responsible adult would have.
That does happen sometimes. Yeah.
So when that happens, how important is it to you that parents be teaching their kids about finances so that they don't end up as an adult asking these questions?
It's critical. And I just, I feel very strongly because I get some young adults in as clients that, they're just out of college or wherever, they're in their 20s. And I say often, you don't need to make the mistakes your parents made in finance. You don't need to repeat that. You're not destined to repeat that. Let's get the good habits in place now. And then other people have parents who are super on top of things and modeling it. But mostly there's a lot of, I want if there are two adults in the home, and there aren't always, but if there are, I want them communicating about money in a way where they're not yelling at each other and it doesn't cause fights. That's the critical piece to model in front of the kids, is to say, yeah, we can go out to dinner this weekend or whatever it is you're trying to do, or no, let's hold off on that because I got to buy, my daughter a couple pairs of shoes because she grew out of her shoes, whatever it is. So once you're having those conversations at like a regular level of volume, then the kid is hearing that money is not scary and stressful and causing fights. And it's just a thing, like a fork or a car or a whatever. It's just a thing. It's just a tool.
Yeah. Oh, that's powerful when you think about it like that. For sure. Does your daughter, is she able to teach her friends or relate to her friends who maybe their parents are not talking about finances in this way?
That's a great question, because she said to me, she's like, I just told little XYZ, her friend, like now it's happening more because they're in high school. When they were real little, it didn't happen as much. But in middle school and high school, I just told so and so, and she's repeating what I say. And I'm like, good. And we'll talk about it at dinner. And I'm like, so and so is getting bad advice. That's not the right thing to do, because all these kids are worried about how their parents are going to pay for college now, right? She's a senior.
Mhm.
And they're all like, oh, she has a friend with like some astronomical test score and straight A's and like all the extracurriculars anybody could ever imagine. And she's like, well, I can't go to one of those colleges. I'm like, have her parents call me, because I'm going to figure out a way to get this kid through if she gets into Stanford or one of those schools. And so she hears it from me all the time. I'm like, that's bad advice. That kid's getting bad advice.
And when you're teaching people and when you're teaching your daughter these aspects of, let's say, financial planning, is discernment and knowing what choice to make, is that a soft skill or is that a hard skill that you can teach someone?
Interesting question. Good judgment feels to me to be genetic. You either have it or you don't. I don't know if it's hereditary, but it just seems like you're born with it or you're not born with it. But I think a lot of the things can be taught. What to look for, how to negotiate, how to think about financial things within your household. And I think if you can at least get the parameters right, you're a long way. You're a long way through it.
And so the Motherhood Experience audience, obviously 99% moms.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have dual income households. Some of them do not. Some of them are single mothers. Some of them are married. Some of them are remarried. I mean, the audience spectrum is a big one. Not all of the moms are the financial keepers of their home. Not all of the moms know anything about any of the financials in their home.
Mm.
I will say for myself, I used to be the one who paid all the bills, balanced the checkbook. I mean, every bank statement I poured over, like I was the one who knew what was due when, how much, all of it. After we had kids, I passed that baton. And even I think yesterday, my husband was asking me, like, do you even know how much our electric bill is? And I was like, no, I could guess and I could come close, I bet. But no, I have no idea. I don't even know the name of our electric company.
Of the company that does it. Yeah. If your kids are
That's
really
not
young,
true.
I
That's
could
not
see
true.
that.
They're right down the street. I remember now. But how would you, as a mom, and this comes naturally to you, like you get it, you understand. How do you present the information then in a way where you're going to talk to couples where one of them knows what's going on in the finances and the other doesn't? One is very particular, the other is not. How do you address these,
Well,
primarily these families?
so the first thing I would say is, in my own house, I don't do the bill pay. I have no idea what the electric bill is in this house. I have an idea, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's because, first of all, my husband likes it, and so that's fine. There's always going to be somebody who's going to take that set of tasks on, and somebody who's going to take on other tasks, right? But what I say to people, and I feel very strongly about this for women especially, is that you don't need to pay the bills. It's okay if somebody else likes it and does it, and that's okay. But you need to know what's going on.
And
You need
why?
to know.
Why?
Yeah. You need to know how much is coming into the house generally, how much is going out, how much you can save each month, and how much is being saved for retirement, how much is needed for things if tuition is an issue or daycare is an issue or whatever it is you're doing. You need to know the basics. You don't have to be on it. You don't have to juggle, you don't have to be balancing the check. God knows I don't balance the checkbook in our house. Yeah, but I know our balance sheet. I know how much we have in savings and where it is, and you need to know all of that too, because sometimes people become incapacitated, heaven forbid. Sometimes, also heaven forbid, unions dissolve. And all of a sudden, when you didn't do anything with the finances, you're stuck having to do not only that, but doing it with half the money coming in, or whatever the situation is. So you need to understand what's going on, even if you're not doing it. And
Yeah.
that to me is the critical piece.
And how would you present it to someone so it's not so overwhelming? So let's say that they don't have a clue what's going on, and now they've just learned that they need to understand. They need to know the basics. How do you present that without them being like, this is too much for me to take on right now? Just the knowledge of it is
If
too much.
something is overwhelming, it just means it has not been cut into a small enough bite.
Hmm.
That's it. That's how I explain calculus to my child. I'm
Ooh.
like, if you feel overwhelmed, it's because it has not been cut into a small enough bite for you.
Hmm.
And I feel like that about finance. So typically I want people to come in and see a professional, but even if they don't do that, start with something very, very simple. What is the income? What does your partner bring in net of tax and retirement and all that? What are you bringing in? Maybe you're at home. Maybe you're not bringing anything, and that's okay too. Or maybe the other person's not and you are, whatever it is. What's the income? Start there. What comes in every month? Fabulous. When you feel on top of that, come back and get the next bite.
Hmm.
And the next bite is what's going out? What are the general expenses? Housing is the big one. And secondarily, it could be childcare if you have young kids. It could be, people have a lot of needs. It could be some various therapies. It could be groceries. It could be anything. What is going out of the house? Don't take it all at once. Make a list. Figure out, what do you think is going out of the house? Right? What's getting saved for retirement? Take it as like bit by bit and then try to put it all together. You don't need to swallow it all whole like that.
That's a good word. That's a good word. And I think for me, especially, as I am someone who, if I know that something needs to be done, I just think that I have to do all of it, and I have to do all of it perfectly, and I have to do it all right now. There are no small bites.
That sounds very momish.
I
Mm-hmm.
thought you were going to say neurotic, so I'm glad you
Yeah,
said momish.
momish. That's very momish because that's what we do, right? We get this infant comes home with us and it's like all the problems have to be solved,
Yeah.
right? Because somebody is utterly, 100% utterly dependent on us.
Yeah.
So all the problems have to be solved. And then there are new problems. And whoever said, little kids, little problems, knew what he or she was talking about.
Mm.
And big kids, bigger problems, because they get more complex.
Mm.
And so it's a constant array of different things being thrown your way. And so you need to take the right bite that you can handle. And it's the same in personal finance.
Yeah.
Like coming in and being like, well, I think we can afford this property and this, you don't know. You got to break that
Mm.
down.
So, what are some of the most common either misconceptions or mistakes that you see people making in their personal finances?
Wow, what an interesting question. There's a few. So the first thing I always say, and I just did a reel for our social media person on this, is the most expensive thing in the world is unhappiless.
Ooh.
If you're unhappy with your body or your job or your relationship or where you live, that is filling that hole with temporary hits of happiness. That purse, this pair of shoes, that trip, that's the most expensive thing. The people with the greatest wealth are the people who seem the most boring. And it's because they're satisfied. Warren Buffett talks a little about this.
That's a deep well right there.
I guess it is, but I've been saying it for years. Happiness is the best antidote to your financial woes. And I don't mean that quick hit of happiness. I'm going to go out and buy an ice cream sundae and eat it, and that's going to make me happy for 40 seconds. That's not what I mean. I mean satisfaction, not
Yeah.
happiness.
Yeah.
So I see, there are a lot of parents out now, we're going to get real deep, but there are a lot of parents out there that I see either in my client base or her parents of her friends, or from when I was at home with her. And it's not altogether clear to me that they're that thrilled being parents.
Hmm.
And that kind of thing is shockingly expensive. The nannies, the au pairs, the therapy, the this, the that. It's extreme. It's all layered on, and it's very, very expensive. Now with a child, there's nothing for you to go back on. But if it's something like, I really hate my job, look for another career path. That's going to be the
Mhm.
best thing for your finances, even if it pays less. Trust me. So that's the number one thing, to be honest.
That is fascinating.
I know people always expect me to tell people to like open a Roth IRA. None of that stuff really. Yeah. That stuff is just not that important in the end. It's important. I've got nothing against Roth IRAs. They're great. But that's not the fundamental kind of a thing, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I love that though. I love that because you're not treating a symptom, you're getting to the root of the issue.
You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah, because
have to.
especially financially, if you don't stop the bleeding.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And women, especially, if somebody's experienced something, as awful as postpartum depression or any of those sorts of things, get that stuff solved if you can. It's not always
Mhm.
solvable. Get that stuff as taken care of as you can, and the other stuff will follow
Yeah.
financially. It is.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, so I've loved this conversation so far, and I love how motherhood necessitated you finding something that was the right fit for you, but also what you found as the right fit for you helped shape your motherhood and teaching and training of your
Definitely.
daughter. They're both so intermingled. And really, for working moms, especially career and motherhood, they're not silos.
No.
They are
My
very
gosh.
much involved with each other. And I love your story there. So tell me now, are you still doing content? Like, what is it that you're doing? How are you still helping people today?
So I have a firm called Fearless Finance, and there's 7 planners around the country, and we do hourly financial planning. And so people can come to us. It's all virtual. So it doesn't matter if you live in Missouri and your planner lives in Massachusetts. None of that matters. We're regulated by the SEC as a full registered investment advisor, but it's a way for people in their, what the technical term is, asset accumulation stage of life, which is late 20s to sort of mid 50s, which is parenthood.
Hmm.
And they don't often have somebody to go see when things come up. And they're kind of like, I don't know where to turn. The basement just flooded. The plumber said it's $20,000. Where am I going to go? Right. So if you have some guy at some brokerage house, and it usually is a guy, but it doesn't have to be, selling you products, he doesn't care how you fix your basement. Or if you have some fancy wealth manager who only cares about how much you're able to give him or her to invest, that person doesn't care about how you're going to fix your basement. You need
Yeah.
a fee only planner. And so most of the questions that I got when I was doing those videos with regard to finance were, how do I get the answer to this? What do I do for this flooded basement?
Hmm.
And I'm like, why is there no place to get this answer? So now there is. And that's the firm that I run. And I started it in 2016. When I say started it, I became officially regulated by the SEC, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
So almost a decade.
Yes. Gosh. Yes, that's right. We grew
That's
from just me doing it. Now there's 7 of us doing it nationwide.
that's fantastic. Are you willing to go down a little side trail with me?
Of course.
I have a funny basement flooding story,
There
actually.
we go. You see? Everybody has one. Yeah.
So we lived in Fargo, North Dakota. There was an epic flood, and we had a literal waterfall coming through our basement wall.
I know you see that stuff on the news all the time. It's frightening.
It's
Yeah.
sickening. It's
Yeah.
sickening. That was in 2009, I think, the spring of 2009. And we're in 2025 right now. My husband still has nightmares about, like,
About it.
and
Yeah.
if it rains overnight, he's like, he can't sleep
Yeah.
from that. It was terrible. So we had to get the we had to get the basement repaired. We had no money. We had nowhere to turn. I don't even remember how we financed it, but it was a whole big mess. Physically, financially, emotionally,
Super
all of the
stressful.
things. But
Super.
apparently I had the basement repair guy's number for, scheduling things or whatever. I go to this women's event one night and I'm eating dinner beforehand, and I was just feeling, I'm kind of a sentimental person, especially every now and then. And I was just feeling so grateful that my husband let me go to this event, and, that we splurged on the ticket for it. And I'm eating dinner at Taco Bell because Everybody can afford Taco Bell, even though
Yes.
you should not. But anyway, I digress. So I text my husband, "I love you," with a little smiley face. And I get a text back that says, "Who is this?" And I panic. I look at my phone and I'm like, "Oh, it's sent to my husband," but that's not who the text back came from. So this was like in the T9 texting days. It was a flip phone, not a
Oh, yeah,
smartphone type
yeah. So you
thing.
have to do the number
So,
like 3 times.
and you had to select your contacts, and you could select more than one. And his name was Adam. He was the first contact in my list. So his name, it was Adam, the basement guy. I texted Adam, the
Oh my
basement guy,
God. But
"I
you do
love
love
you."
him too. Yeah.
And he was like, "Who is this?" And I panicked. I called my husband and I was like, "Just so you know, I texted you, but I
I'm not having
accidentally
an affair
also
with the
texted."
basement guy.
And now he wants to know who I am. It was this whole thing. Like I had to
Oh,
fess
that's
up who I was.
adorable.
Oh my gosh. So that cost more than just money. It cost me a little bit of pride and embarrassment in that.
Oh, that's adorable. Well, I'm glad you got it all sorted out,
Right?
though. Yeah.
All these years later, we can laugh about it now.
We can laugh about, well, so that's the thing though. I mean, just on a serious note, when you had that flood
Yeah.
and you were like, we don't know where we're going to get this, how we're going to pay for this, how we're going to take care of it. And luckily things worked out well for you. But people can make very damaging mistakes
Yeah.
in the heat of the moment when they don't have anyone to turn to. And that's why our firm is hourly, and you can just email and be like, it's twins. And you don't know. I've gotten that email a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know where to turn, all of those things. And so that's it, is you need to have somebody to turn to hopefully avoid costly, damaging financial mistakes.
Hmm.
And luckily, you guys seem to have come out of it with no problem.
Well, it took years.
And a funny story.
A funny story for sure, but I mean, it took some recovery financially
sure
and
that's
emotionally.
true.
My husband still can't sleep through the night
Yeah, I'm sure that's
during
all
a
true.
rainstorm. So yeah, it was a big deal. But so if people do turn to your firm, are there contracts or obligations? How
Nope.
how does it work to work with you?
So there's no strings attached. You sign an engagement letter, which is very simple, and you have your first meeting, and you pay after the meeting for the meeting you just had. You only pay for time you're in front of your planner. No hidden fees, no prep time, none of that. And you can choose to come back or not. We typically, I mean, 99% of the people do because they need the help. And then you pay for the next meeting after that meeting. So there's no subscription, there's no flat fees, there's no long-term contracts, nothing. Our service, we know our service is so needed and so good. We don't have a problem with people returning or not returning.
Yeah.
I have clients who come back after 5 or 6 years and they're like, I can't believe, I just had one this morning. I can't believe we haven't seen you in that long. And, and now we need help.
Yeah.
And we're there for that.
Well, and I would like to share with the TME listeners that Lori has granted a discount if you do utilize her services. So your first step in attaining financial help comes with a discount. I think that's phenomenal. Thank you for doing that, Lori.
No problem. Just if you fill out the form on our site, just in the notes, put TME or listen to you on TME or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. So as we wrap up today, do you have any advice you'd like to impart, whether it's about motherhood or personal finance or both, to the mom who's listening today who just feels like, I mean, I'm glad that Lori figured out what helped her click and what made it, but like I'm just kind of floating out here in the world. I don't know what's going on. What would you say to her?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I by no means have all the answers to everything, that's for sure. But I think I go back to that same comment I made a few minutes ago, which is really think about if you feel that there is something missing in your life or something you're unsatisfied by, what is that thing and what would make you happy? And, because the life unlived is the worst thing for your child. Right? So if there's an opportunity or something you want to do and you don't do it, not only is that a bad reflection in your finances because there's all those purses and trips and all that, those things that you do to make yourself momentarily happy, which we talked about a few minutes ago, but the life unlived is modeled for that child. And that's not okay. My kid sees me, I'm yelling a lot of times, but I'm the boss. And she sees what that's like. And, I think that figuring out what it is that you really want to do and really trying to do it, even if you're not trying to do it this moment because you have little kids at home, whatever it is, knowing that you can do it, because the life unlived is costly financially, and it's not great to model to those kids.
Wow, Lori, thank you so much. What is the website where people can go find you, and are you on social media?
Yes, indeed. So the website is fearlessfinance.com. Couldn't be any easier. And then there's a little contact up in the top right. Click it. There's a small, quick form, and we'll get right back to you.
All right.
Yeah. And if you put TME in the notes, we'll give you that discount. So we would love to hear from you. And
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube?
Yeah. So YouTube, these are all Fearless Finance, right?
Right.
So if you in Instagram, in Facebook, and we're on YouTube, X, I think, is also Fearless Finance, and LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. All right. Well, listeners,
and just TikTok.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Listeners, I will have all of these links for you down in the show notes in the description of this episode. Lori, thank you once again for being a guest on the Motherhood Experience. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. To join our exclusive TME community, head over to themotherhoodexperience.com/learn more. Be sure to follow the Motherhood Experience on Facebook or Instagram, and please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.